Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you coming out to join us this morning. I want to share today a message of change and a message of thanksgiving. I have had the high honor and privilege of serving for nearly 24 years the people of the 1st Congressional District in the state of New Jersey. It has been a singular privilege and singular honor in my life, and I'm extremely grateful for people for this opportunity. A friend of mine who's a blogger has sometimes written what's very important is whether you have a good boss or not. And Dan, I'd have to tell you, I think I've had the best boss imaginable for the last 24 years in the people of South Jersey. I'm profoundly grateful for all that we've been through. The terrors of 9/11, the ups and downs in the economic cycle, the tremendous sweeping social change that saw first African-American president elected during that period of time. We've seen just about everything. During that period of time, for which I'm very humbled and grateful to serve, there have been occasions when I've been asked about maybe choosing a different path in life, to go to work in different fields or do different things with my life. And I have always chosen to stay in the Congress, at least to ask the people of my district to have me stay in Congress. In very recent days, I have had a different kind of opportunity come up, and I've decided to accept it. I do so with graciousness and thanksgiving for the people whom I've represented. In very recent days, I was asked to consider heading up the government affairs practice of a very prestigious Philadelphia law firm, which my family has very deep and personal connections. It's a firm run by people who have been friends and mentors of mine for a very, very long time. It's an opportunity for me to continue at a place that combines private sector excellence with community service. And it's a chance for me to serve, I think, best the most important title I've ever had, which is Dad. As Camille and I are about to educate our two daughters, it strikes me that this is an opportunity for us to fulfill our obligations and do the very best we can for our family. This is a position that opened up very recently, and there is no one heading the firm's practice in the government relations field. And when we proceeded to talk this weekend about me joining, whether I would join, it was clear that this is an opportunity that's here now that will not be here a few months or a year from now. So I had to make a decision this weekend as to what to do. Spent a lot of time with my wife and with my daughters talking about what this would mean to us, and we had a lot of family discussions, and after a lot of prayerful consideration, I've decided to accept the offer. The offer requires me to start in the month of March, so accordingly, I will be departing from the House during the President's Day recess on the 18th of February. I want to make clear what this decision is and what it is not. It is very much a decision that is a personal and family decision. As I said, that the most important title I've ever held is not congressman, it's father and husband. I think this is a decision that is very right for my family and for our future. This decision is not a reflection on the negativity surrounding the Congress or the politics in Washington. I am well aware of the fact that the House can be a place of spirited debate. Sometimes that spirited debate is not very pretty to look at, and I'm well aware of the disdain that many hold the Congress in. I do not share in that disdain. I'm very proud of my conservative pro-life friends like Chris Smith. I'm very proud of my pro-choice liberal friends like Jan Schakowsky. I'm proud to serve with Republicans and Democrats. I'm proud to serve with liberals and conservatives. My decision was not based upon any disaffection or dissatisfaction with the United States Congress. It's a body I'm proud to serve in. I'm proud to serve with the people I serve next to. And I know that others in this region made similar decisions. My friend John Runyon made a decision not to seek re-election after saying he walked around with a list of names of people who voted no on the Sandy relief. I'm very glad my name was not on that list for any number of reasons, but I don't share any disaffection. I'm making this decision because I think it's right for my family. Second, This decision is not a reflection of any forecast as the prospects of the Democratic Party to win the House back in the forthcoming election. I think there are essentially two forces of nature that are working in favor of the Democratic Party. One is the immigration tidal wave of the growing immigrant communities, which are very sympathetic to our views and us to them. And the second is a woman named Nancy Pelosi. She is a force of nature. She has been a friend and a mentor and a leader for me for many, many years. And I have utmost confidence in her ability to lead the Democratic Party back to the majority, and look forward to helping make that happen. This is a decision that focuses on family, and for me the sense of family has always gone beyond blood relatives. Although certainly I offer thanksgiving to my wife and my daughters, who are the core of everything that I do. My concept of family certainly extends to many other people. It extends to my staff that has worked so very hard for so many years, both my staff now and in the past. These are people I have enormous respect for. And I did want to say in that regard, I was spoken to the House leadership this morning, and as is the practice with members who depart midterm, that our staff will continue to serve the people of the 1st Congressional District, both here and in the Washington office, and people's needs will be addressed by them during that period of time until a successor is chosen. So I want to thank my staff for what they've done. I want to thank my colleagues, Republican and Democrat, liberal and conservative, from around the country for the honor and privilege of serving with them. I want to thank the leadership of the South Jersey Democratic Party, the elected officials, the political leaders who have been incredibly important friends and supporters for all these years. Together with our campaign volunteers, I was humbled by the fact that in the last election, they were able to deliver for us a victory where we received more votes than any candidate in the history of the House of Representatives in the state of New Jersey because of their effort. We're very proud of that, very grateful. I'm most of all grateful for my constituents, many of whom have come to this room and have made our success possible. We have worked together, my colleagues and constituents, and passed the Affordable Care Act. I believe that the Affordable Care Act will stand next to Medicare and Social Security as a pillar of middle-class prosperity in this country for many, many years to come. I'm proud of the work that we were able to do together to make student loans more affordable and more accessible to students around the country, an issue very near and dear to Camille and my hearts as we educate our children. Locally, we've worked with both Republicans and Democrats to get transportation investment. The last couple of years alone, we've had $1.5 billion of investment in projects like the Direct Connect, which will make the 295-42 commute easier, couldn't be any harder, and projects like that. We're very proud of the fact that we were able to bring hundreds of units of new quality housing to the city of Camden through the Camden Housing Authority. We've worked together with local officials, both Republican and Democrat, to win about $60 million worth of grants for police and fire services throughout our communities. Our veterans, who have a very special place in our hearts, were able to work together and have veterans benefit clinics in Turnersville and in Camden that are full service operations that benefit people in those areas and beyond. Most importantly, the work that means the most to us, and the staff has done such a great job on, is on about 150,000 occasions, people have come to this office and asked for help with their most basic problem. There is no memory that I will cherish more, and no achievement that I will hold in higher honor than what we're able to do together for those constituents. A few months ago, a man and a woman brought two strapping young men into this office that were full of energy and vinegar and all the things that young teenage men do, hopefully not near my daughters, but the things that young teenage men do. And they brought them here because about 15 years earlier, when these young men were toddlers, we had helped them get adopted through immigration policies into this country, and they've grown up here. Just last Friday, a man who was on the verge of losing his home, verge of losing his house, was able to be awarded his full veterans disability benefits and keep his home. And one of our folks here was able to make that call and let him know his life had changed in that way. A few years ago, I was supposed to have a meeting with a couple from one of the local towns, and they had to cancel the meeting because the husband was rushed to the hospital with heart failure. And the reason he had heart failure is that they too were on the verge of losing their home. We looked into the case further and found out the reason they were ineligible for one of the mortgage relief programs was that they had inadvertently listed their income as their monthly income, not their annual income. And when we helped them correct the mortgage application, they were able to refinance their mortgage, and they are in their home today. These are the kind of things that are really testimony to public service that we care the most about. And I'm so honored to have the chance to step in and join a firm that is rooted in that tradition of community service and private sector excellence. The Dilworth Paxson Law Firm has a long-standing connection to my family and my community. I am delighted and honored to join them. I'm going to say again about the timing because it is important for people to understand. The leadership of the firm's government affairs practice is vacant. They needed to make a decision in short order about how to fill it. In recent days, they made an offer to me to fill it. I thought it was the right thing for my family and the right way to continue my service tradition, so I accepted, and that requires me to start in March. What I'm also required to do is say one more thank you to the people that have helped make this a singular and gracious and great experience in our lives. We're not going anywhere. We live in Haddon Heights. We have raised our children here. God willing, we will stay here for a very, very long time. I want to be a part of this community in any way I can. I am so grateful for the support I've received from so many constituents over the years. I thank them for their graciousness, their understanding. I thank my family for supporting me in that effort for all of these years. So I would be happy to answer any question that any of you would like to ask. And Nora, you want to start with you?
Congressman, can you talk about what, if any, role the ongoing Ethics Committee investigation has in your decision to cut bait and leave Congress?
It has no role at all. This is a decision that I needed to make in order to fill this opportunity. And I made this decision because I think it's the right one for my family at this time. No role at all.
Have you heard anything, Congressman, about the progress of the Ethics Committee's investigation? It's been going on for some time. Did they tell you recently that their decision is coming down?
Most emphatically, no. It's frankly not my place to comment on the process. It's theirs, but no, there's no imminent decision. The imminent decision was the important one I needed to make about whether to take this step for my family, and I'm glad I took the right step.
Just a quick follow-up.
Sure.
You know, oftentimes when members of Congress resign, the ethics investigations are never released. Would you like to have yours released anyway?
It's really not up to me to comment on this process, Matt. I'm not going to do that. That we follow the rules in every respect and continue to do so. Yes, sir.
Congressman, you were a rising star in the Democratic Party in New Jersey, and many had foreseen you becoming a United States Senator. Do you have any regrets looking back at the way, you know, you handled the whole situation with Frank Lautenberg and what happened and so forth?
I really don't. I respect Senator Lautenberg very, very much, and we honor his memory. I thought that the voters of the state should have a choice in that election, and many good people from around the state, Mayor Fulop in Jersey City, that might get him in trouble, but I'll say it. Mayor Fulop in Jersey City was supportive, and many other leaders were supportive, and I thought it was right to give the voters a choice. I think the voters spoke, and we all accepted that result, but it's a decision I think was the right one to do.
What were the financial considerations of
One of the financial considerations is that we have a really talented daughter who's likely to go to medical school. If any of you are listening in medical school admissions committees, please listen up. We'd like her to do that, and we have another daughter who I think is headed for college very soon. We sat down and looked at this, and it looks to me like we'd have to borrow $750,000 to help our kids complete their education. And what this would mean is that if I were fortunate enough to live to be 90 years old, I'd still be going to work that day to help. This is a debt we would not want to push off on our children. So a very important part of this financial consideration is our responsibility to educate our children. And I'm not, at all immune to the fact that that's a concern that my constituents have every day as well. But that was really central to our decision.
Congressman, have there been any other job opportunities in the recent past for one Goldman Sachs that you potentially turned down? And if so, why?
Yeah.
And why choose this opportunity now?
I had very much wanted to coach the Eagles, but Chip Kelly got the job, which is disappointing. No, there are only two occasions where I've looked at another job seriously. One was Goldman Sachs, where I disclosed I was having negotiations. The second was this. I've never gotten to the point with any other possible employer where we talk seriously.
Congressman, what, if any, role might you have in the selection of or vetting of a successor?
Kevin, I expect to have a voice in that. I will tell you that I very much respect the Democratic leadership of this area. They've been very good to me. I will tell you that I hope that Senator Donald Norcross enters the race. If he does, I would be supportive of him. I think he'd be an excellent member of Congress, but I will have a voice in that process, I'm sure.
Congressman, what would you say to some people in South Jersey who may not pay attention a lot to news and so forth, and they may see, oh, Congressman Rob Andrews stepping down, ethics investigation still ongoing, oh, he's dumping out of this so he doesn't have to face the music. What would you say to them?
I would say that I'm acting as a parent and a father, a parent and a husband, rather. And I would say that all of these things, that these allegations, these investigations were trotted out chapter and verse in the election in 2012. And I was very grateful and humbled by the fact that when my constituents heard these things that were filed by the chairman of the local Republican Party, when they heard these things, they gave me the highest vote total in the history of the state of New Jersey for anyone running for Congress. So my constituents made their judgment, and I'm grateful that they did.
Rob, walk us through the timeline.
Yeah.
In terms of when you got this offer from Bill Paxson, and how much time did you really have to make up your mind?
We had generic discussions middle January when talked about the possibility of this. The negotiations began on Friday morning. And I was made an offer on Friday morning. It gave me the weekend and Monday to work it through with my family. And you might say, well, how could you make a decision that quickly about this? The people I'm going to be working for were at my wedding. I should say our wedding. Excuse me, Camille, if you're watching. But these are people who, for almost 3 decades, have been mentors and friends. They're the kind of people that we called if we had a problem we just wanted to work through with a senior person. These are people I look at as almost like older brothers. So it was not a courtship that took much time because of the 30 years leading up to it. And I will tell you, without getting too specific, that my wife went through some very, very difficult times before we were married with the death of a husband. And she was pregnant at the time with our oldest daughter. And she was working for them, and they were solid as a rock for her during that time. That's the kind of people we're talking about. So when I heard that they were interested and they made this offer, it didn't take a whole lot of time to work it through. So what we did, we had a lot of family meetings over the weekend, and we took a vote. The vote was 4-0 in favor of doing this. I made the decision that way.
Congressman, have you met with South Jersey Democratic leaders? Have you spoken with them, and what they have?
I have spoken with a number of South Jersey Democratic leaders in the last number of hours. I've told them my reason for my decision. I am extremely grateful for their support and the kind words that they've said. And I certainly will be speaking to them in the hours and days ahead about the process of filling the seat. But these guys have been there for me all along, and I want to be there for them. Yep.
To just
Go
be
ahead, Matt,
clear,
and then we'll come back to you.
Sure, thanks. Will this job entail personally lobbying, and what industries and segments would you?
That's yet to be determined. Certainly under the law, I'm not permitted to engage with House or Senate members for a year. But, it'll be a matter of strategic consulting for clients to help them further their interests and solve their problems. But that's yet to be determined as whether I'd register as a lobbyist. Yes, sir.
There's been estimates in the past of spending over $200,000 with this ethics investigation. Is that an accurate estimate? Has that gone up? What can you tell us about the finances behind?
Well, I can tell you that when you're accused wrongfully of things, you have to defend yourself. And so we have. It's important to know that This matter was filed by the Republican chairman locally. I have followed the rules and met all the standards. We have all of these, I'll say this one more time, this was the entirety of the campaign against me in 2012. I mean, people heard all of this as many times as they wanted to hear it, and the people rendered their judgment. And I am very humbled by this, very grateful by the fact that, as I said, they rewarded me with their votes and their trust, and I'm very grateful for that. Yes, Nora?
Rob, ABC News has learned that your aides have been summoned to, I guess, appear before the Ethics Committee and also to turn over documents. Can you tell us what kind of documents they're asking for and what you know about this?
This has been very normal for this process the last couple of years. The allegations have involved campaign funding. They've asked about that. But again, I want to say to you that it's not my place to comment on the process. It's up to the committee. We have followed the rules and met the standards. There's nothing new here people didn't hear in the last campaign, and people responded, thankfully, with their votes.
Congressman, do you know if a replacement or an interim replacement is going to be named shortly to fill that void until the next election, or is the system going to wait until that election?
Yeah, under the Constitution, there can be no interim replacement. The only office in the federal government, at least, that can't be appointed is the House of Representatives. So Governor Christie will make a decision about whether to schedule, not whether, he'll certainly do it, I hope, that he'll make a decision about when to schedule the election for filling the seat. So he will make that determination. I'm actually going to speak with him. We weren't able to connect this morning, but I wanted to let him know of my decision and thank him for his service. And again, during that time, the very able and the very excellent staff that we have here will be able to serve the people of the district.
Thank you.
What's
Yes,
your
sir.
suggestion for when the governor might schedule a special election?
I wouldn't.
Issue a year ago?
Yeah, I wouldn't presume to give the governor will make that decision, that's his prerogative.
I'm not sure, but when your colleague Donald Kane died, I can't remember exactly what time of year it was. I think it was
It was in February, January.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's right around now. And I believe that they didn't have the election, they had a special election to
Yeah.
concur. And I think that might have been the only option. Do you know if that's the only
I
option?
have
now?
no idea. I'm sure the governor's lawyers will look at that, but again, I don't want to be presumptuous and tell the governor what to do. Yes, sir.
Frequent criticism of members of Congress who leave is that there's a revolving door mechanism that allows people who made the laws to then lobby the people who want to change the laws for their own benefit. How do you address those kind of concerns with the move you're making for a government affairs strategy?
Well, I think you address them by looking at the 24 years of service as to what I've done, and then you address them by understanding that people in our system of all ideological stripes have the right to be represented and counseled. And as a lawyer, I look forward to the opportunity of doing that. There are good laws which restrain the problem that you talked about, not the least of which is that I will not be permitted to interact with House members or senators for a year. I can interact with them socially, but I mean, I couldn't call the chairman of the Education Committee tomorrow and say, hey, why don't you pass such and such a bill? I think ultimately, it's a matter of how a firm presents itself too, and the Dilworth Law Firm has a unending reputation for doing the right thing by people, and that's why I'm proud to join it. Yes.
Rob, after everything that's been going on over the last couple of years with the investigations and everything, is there some measure of relief in you for this to be leaving this behind?
No, because that investigation is not in any way the basis of my decision. My decision is about the fact that in the last few days I was presented with a real crossroads in my life. Did I want this opportunity with people I respect and trust so much, or did I not? And I knew that if I did not, that the opportunity would not be there a year from now. So this is all about what our family situation is going to be about, and that was the only and principal driver of this whole discussion.
There's still this cloud hanging over, though. How do you feel about that?
I think the voters spoke about, the sun came out on the election day in 2012. In politics, every day we're accused of things back and forth, and voters heard all about this. They rendered their judgment. I was very humbled by it, very thankful for their support, and I feel a sense of excitement about the new opportunity. I feel a sense of gratitude to my constituents and frankly a sense of thanksgiving for all that my constituents and supporters have done for me.
It's obviously, just by looking at the way you're presenting yourself, Rob, that this is not an easy thing for you to do.
It's not. I mean, I love this job. I love the interactions we have for 24 years. I love working with my staff. Change is difficult, but this is a change that is welcome, that our family is thankful for, and we believe will be a very good thing, and I think good for the people of the region. No politician should be so vain. No person should be so vain as to think there isn't someone who could fill their shoes. And, you know, new blood, I think, will be a good thing. So, no, obviously, there's a lot of emotions. This morning, I talked to my staff, people I care about very, very much, and we're going to have a different kind of relationship. That's emotional. I was at the State of the Union last week and had a very good seat, which I appreciate. And, you know, it now occurs to me that's the last one. But I'll tell you, it'll be a lot more emotional. I've lost two really good friends the last year or so. One was an Episcopal priest who was a leader in our veterans community. The other was a major player in the fire service of Camden County from Audubon. And I've made kind of a vow to myself, Dave, that if I find out that a friend is ill, I don't wait to stand in line at their viewing. I try to get over and see them when I can talk to them. And in listening to these two men who were in the last days of their lives and they knew it, it struck me that what they most talked about and felt most comforted by was spending time doing things that they love. They didn't talk to me about the committees they were on or the politics they've been involved in. You know, my friend Father Pete talked about running the kids' choir at one of his churches and his grandchildren. And my friend Paul talked about all the different times he gathered with the firefighters over the years. And, you know, my dad lived to be 75 years old. God willing, I will live longer. I don't have asbestos in my lungs from the shipyard the way he did. I don't smoke the way he did. I try to take care of myself, and certainly medical is better. But you sort of say to yourself, if God forbid you're in that situation, and you were thinking about living your final days, is there something you would say you wish you'd done more of? And I had a pretty good answer. I wish I had taken my daughter to more Penn football games in the fall. I wish that I had had time to go on college trips with my other daughter who's now looking at going to different colleges. I'm told in American society there's something called a weekend. I don't quite understand it, but apparently on Friday nights, a lot of people get time the next couple days with their families to do things. I've missed a lot of things in these years of my kids. And look, they have a spectacular mother who has more than filled the void. And maybe it's better I wasn't there sometimes. I have a pushy dad. But I don't want to miss those things. And I think that this is a new life for us that will give us a chance not to miss them, and I'm very grateful for it.
A number of organizations that you've worked with over the years have formed close ties with you. How do you respond to feelings that they may be left feeling without their ally or maybe left high and dry?
Well, first of all, I've not heard from any such person. I've started to receive messages this morning, but you know, look, if anybody feels that way, I'm going to talk to them about it. High and dry is kind of inconsistent, though, with 24 years of work. And I did have a conversation with a friend last night who's very active with pro-Israel causes. And I intend to stay very active as a volunteer with those causes, and I'll tell you why. It occurs to me that if my daughters and my wife and I were living in Poland 80 years ago, that my children would be executed because half of their parentage is Jewish. This to me has always been a personal issue and one that I feel very strongly about, and I told my friend that I'm going to stay active in whatever way I can as a volunteer. You know, leaving public office doesn't mean leaving public life. Joining the service of the private sector doesn't mean not doing community service. And I'm going to find new ways to do that. And but again, I hope to be able to find new ways to do that where the number one objective in my life, which would be the best father I can be, I'm better fulfilling.
Rob,
Yes, Jim.
I understand the voters in your district have said the sun came out. What is your reaction to the fact that the House Ethics Committee, despite several opportunities to wrap it up, has not come to that conclusion?
I think that's it.
Could you also say what,
Sure.
the $30,000 or so to Cooper Levinson, what is that for?
As I said earlier, Jim, when you're accused wrongfully, you have to vigorously defend yourself. That's what that's for. It's really not my place to comment on that process. I will just tell
I'm
you.
asking your reaction.
It's not my place to comment on the process. What I'd say to you is that I have followed the rules and met the standards. My voters have heard these accusations. They've rendered their judgment. I'm thankful that they have. Yep.
Just really quick, at Dilworth Paxson, who's the person who you are replacing? The person
I'm actually not going to get into that because it's an internal firm matter.
I see Bennett's name on the stuff.
Oh, it's not John Bennett. No, I should be clear about that.
All right.
John Bennett, our former governor, works in the firm's Monmouth County office. He is not leaving, for all who know him, he's not leaving the firm. He's staying. He's a good friend. It's not John Bennett.
Okay, finally, I mean, regarding the ethics stuff, forget the investigation, but looking back on it, and at the very least, in all the headaches this has caused you, do you regret using campaign funds to take your family to Scotland? Do you regret doing that?
Yeah, let me say this. As I said when we refunded the Scotland funds, which we did before any complaint was filed, I regret creating any distraction that would take people away from the mission that I brought to this office, which is to try to help the people of my community and my country. Have I made mistakes in judgment? Of course I have. I think everyone has over that period of time. But I have followed the rules and met the standards, and I want to emphatically say again, this is a decision that I made because I believe that it's an opportunity for my family to have a better life. And that's why the timing of it, that's why the essence of it, and I have great confidence that the 750,000 employers that I have will understand that, and I thank them for their understanding in the past. Anything else? Yes, Dan?
Congressman, you say that you're going to be talking to Governor Christie later today. As someone who has been under investigation, who's faced tremendous scrutiny over a long period of time, do you have any empathy for him, any understanding of what he's going through now?
Yeah, well,
my other part is, would you rule out running for office again?
I'll take them one at a time. First of all, I don't want to characterize the Bridgegate investigations, but it involves the U.S. Attorney. There's a lot going on. What we've been involved in is a political dispute in the Congress. It's really nothing of the same magnitude. I do have empathy for the governor. I don't agree with his politics on many levels, but I do think that he has been, and I have not been, let me be clear about this, I don't feel like I've been the victim of blood sport and obsession. I think, frankly, journalists have done their job, so I'm not including myself in this. I think he's in the middle of this vortex of blood sport right now, where anything he says or does is going to be attacked because it's good for ratings. I do empathize with that. I don't know whether he's right or wrong. I don't know whether what he did was right or wrong. There's a process to find that out. But yeah, I do think that he's in a position where everything he does now is ignored because of the controversy swirling around him, and I think that doesn't serve the public very well either. So I do have empathy. Would I rule out another run for public office? No. Life has a way of changing, but I want to be very clear, Dan, that this is not a predicate to some next campaign. I mean, there is a next campaign. I'd like to have my family be better off and enjoy our lives, but I would never rule it out, but I have no intention of doing that. Anything else? Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.